Hello again. Dawn Janice here and Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett. We are Lightweavings podcast, and we're really excited to be here with you again today. And we have gone tropical / sort of boho here. And Wendy, it's good to see you again.
Oh, it's great to see you, Dawn. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I love our color themes today. I'm sitting here with the virtual background of my happy place because I just needed to go there today. And I love your tie-dye shirt. So we're bringing in some color.
Thank you.
Love it.
I created this last weekend with my 2 grandchildren. We tie-dyed shirts. It was so much fun. And then guess what I did today all by myself?
What?
I did another one all by
Did you?
myself because I'm on a roll now. Yeah.
Good for you. Tie-dye is fun.
It is. I can't believe I'd never done it before. I guess I did it one time last summer with my friend Jan. We went to Lake Tahoe and it was a fun little activity to do. And I don't know, just a little bit of creativity just brings you joy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you get to be messy and have a surprise when you unroll it.
It's a surprise. Yeah. So here at Lightweavings podcast, we talk about the question, has something dimmed your light? And if so, are you ready to do something about it? Because we are here to talk about whatever that is. And sometimes those conversations are a little uncomfortable, but this is how we break through and find the answers to the why. And as you know, I'm analytical. I've been criticized for that. But that's how we figure things out and kind of get those breakthroughs that we're looking for. So let's get started.
Let's do it. And I love your analytical point of view. So yeah, you analyze, I ask questions. So let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, great. Yeah, so we've both had February has ended and we are into March now. And I saw a meme the other day of January and this woman that's just like laying down in the fetal position. It feels like it's been like that this year. And then February came and she's getting up, starting to get up. You see her crouched over, but she's getting ready to stand up. And then March, she's up and taking a step forward. And I feel like that has been 2023. How about you? Is it?
Oh, yes. I think that is very appropriate.
I just thought it was interesting that was like a general meme that was out there about this year. It's not just me. It's not just us. It's kind of a general thing that's happening in our world. And so I'm really encouraged that March is here and we are standing up now.
Yes.
And ready to take some steps forward. So I have been experiencing, which we talked about a few weeks ago, which is detox, mental and emotional detox lately. It has physically manifested in my body. I've been going through some really hard things with the most important people in my life. And one night last week, I just was at my wit's end and really, I probably didn't drink enough water. I'm sure I was dehydrated. I'd been crying and I was exhausted, emotionally exhausted. So Wendy, what I did was I used the tools that I have that I could muster up. I hadn't had the energy to write, didn't have the energy to meditate or even sit up in bed. Instead, I just spoke to my higher power and I said, I've done all I can do with the situation. And I don't know what else to do. Can you help me? Can you please just take this situation, these several situations I was dealing with? And I went to sleep. Woke up with a major migraine.
Ouch.
And physically sick. But that was a purge. That was literally a purge. Like I got sick to my stomach. It was brutal, an all-day thing. And when everything was gone, I was over it. The headache had subsided at the end of the day. I realized that I wasn't being my true authentic self in those situations I was dealing with. I was taking on a personality that wasn't mine, that I was taught to utilize as a young woman. And I didn't want to be that person because it wasn't truly me. So I just made that decision. Since my word for the year is kindness, as you know, I made that decision last week in the middle of the week, Wednesday, that I wasn't going to take on that old way of being anymore. It was time for me to be authentically Don Janice.
Mm, how empowering for you. And it's interesting, that you're going through more detox, and we're both going through some very serious detox, which leads me to believe that other people are going through emotional detox as well, and maybe they don't even understand what that is. Um, I love that you brought this subject up because it's so important to be authentic. And when you're not authentic, it makes things, like you say, it makes you sick when you're not being authentic. And I feel like we're shifting into a time that more and more of us are letting go of that old way of being. Like you said, you were taught how to behave that way, and you're shining the light on who is the real Dawn Janice, and you're illuminating that light more and more. And as you're doing that, you're detoxing more and more. And that is very painful on so many levels, the emotional level and the physical level, like you just experienced.
Mm.
And so, how would you say that you feel now that you are being more your authentic self?
You are so good at questions. So good. I feel peace.
Mm,
I feel calm. I feel in alignment.
yeah.
And I can tell you that those situations that I gave up to my higher power immediately started resolving. And I
Mm,
do mean immediately, as soon as I was able to talk to somebody on the phone that I was having a struggle with that next day, because it took several hours. That migraine was incredible. It was instantly resolved, and he had been trying to tell me that for hours, but I wasn't able to pick up the phone because I had such a horrendous headache.
wow.
So, uh, my cat wakes me up at 4 a.m., right, every morning.
I love Oreo.
Oreo, she's like, "Time to get up and feed
Party mom.
me," every day. So that was the time that I woke up with the headache that day, but it wasn't until like 9:30 in the morning that I was able to finally take his call. And instant instantly, um, the higher power took over and did things that I couldn't do. It's just the
Wow.
way it is. We only have so much power as in human form on this earth,
Right. Right.
you
We
know?
like, yeah, we like to think that we have more power.
I do.
We
Mhm.
certainly fight for it, but
That's been one of my pitfalls in my life, is
yeah,
thinking that
same
I'm so
here.
freaking powerful.
Yeah. Well, and we are, but there's a difference between being powerful and controlling. I think that's what we
Ooh,
want to do
ouch.
is control.
Okay, you got me on that one. Definitely.
Uh, yeah, we like to control when we get to just let go, because what you did to surrender
Mm.
and say, ask, the higher power that you believe in for help, that is power.
Ah, ding, ding, ding. Thank you. I just hear the bell ringing. I see the light now. Thank you. So the power that I have, you're saying, is allowing source energy,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like to us,
Mm-hmm.
to take over. It's
Yeah,
kind of like if you're running a business, to delegate.
correct.
Mm.
Yes, very well said. Yes,
Because alone we can only do so much.
that's
But
right.
when we call in
Right,
the resources and sources,
right,
that's when the magic really happens. That's when the big shifts actually happen very easily.
right, right. And like you said, it was like magic. The source took over and resolved this one issue like that. I mean, how powerful is that? So,
And
yeah.
then the other amazing human being in my life, there was a big problem, and I just don't want to throw anybody under the bus, so I'm not going to
Hmm.
like go into detail about it, but I I had a big realization about myself and how I am being. after that headache had subsided, after that purging happened, it was so weird the way it was just like a physical manifestation
Mhm.
of a purging. And it just came to me. I knew exactly what it was. And that is that I wasn't being the best me that I could be. I wasn't being me. I was taking on somebody else's personality. And that doesn't work for me. It may have protected me in the past, but I know better now.
Mhm.
And I can see from my past and my past experiences the pitfalls of not being authentically me. I mean, yes,
Mhm.
there's benefits to that personality, but there's much more drawback than there is benefits because relationships are very, very important to me. People are the most important thing in the world to me.
Mm.
My relationships, um, and that relationship with myself is the most important. So to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I am kind, loving, um, giving, and I would never hurt somebody on purpose,
Mhm.
that is worth everything. Just
Yeah.
to be able to look in the mirror and to be able to sleep at night, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So I just realized that that light that I have, Wendy, I was holding back and not
mm,
giving it.
and isn't that something that we all do though? You know, we come into this world and we're formed by other people. You know, you like you say, you were taught how to do things, how to behave by other people. And so you didn't get to express who you really were because you had to fit into this box, to fit into this form, to fit in and to survive. And I feel that we all spend the rest of our adult life, because when we're children, you know, we're programmed, you know, we really are. We're programmed from the very early age on. And most of our programming starts from birth until the age of 7. That's the hardcore programming. And then we get to figure out who the hell we are for the rest of our lives. We get to see parts of that light within us. And then, you know, I just want to commend you because you know, you saw the light within you and you followed that light. You're like, hey, that isn't who I am. This is me over here, this bright person, this bright spark. And so I see it as like a shedding of this old persona. Um, the image that comes to mind, just because sometimes I see things in weird pictures, is like we wear these masks, we wear these costumes through life. Like we're in this play, this cosmic play. And then as we go along, we get to shed all of that, you know, at the end of the play and see who we really are, you know, and that's like what you're doing. You know, you're discovering your authentic self, your authentic voice, your authentic way of being, because you are a kind person. You are a very gentle, loving person. That is the real you. And what a gift that even though it was really hard to go through this detox. What a gift for yourself to follow your light and say, hey, this is the real me. This is what I want to shine more. And yes, you're right. We don't shine our true selves around other people when we're being inauthentic. And it's a hiding. And we get to stop that.
Yeah, it's an old habit of mine. I realized recently is that
Yeah.
I do hide. When there's any anger
Uh-huh.
in the
Mm-hmm.
room,
Mm-hmm.
I hide.
Yeah.
And sometimes I may still physically be there, but you know what I hide? Any light that I have,
Sure.
because I'm afraid that that's what's making somebody angry. I just realized that. I hide that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by light, I know that sounds very like woo out there, but by light, I mean, my good energy, my authentic love. And I feel like that's really what light is like pure love,
Mm,
you know?
mhm,
It's hard to
mhm,
explain, I guess. But the visual to me is a light. It's like
mm,
a beam, a shining light, almost like a star when you are giving and being who you were meant to be and um, who source energy made you as before we were altered
Right.
by our world, our society, our families, just, the friends we kept, whatever,
Right.
before we were altered, that pure self,
Right.
that pure self. So,
Right.
yeah, that was really interesting. And to realize all of that. And I finally did at 62 and a half years old. That took a long time.
Yay. Yeah. Yay. Well, you know what? And it's okay. It's okay. There's no time limit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know we can sit here and say, oh man, if I wish I would have realized this when I was in my 20s or my 30s.
Yeah.
You know what? It wouldn't have worked. I mean, maybe it would have. There are some people that are more enlightened in their 20s and 30s, but they're
Hmm.
also coming into a different energetically vibrating universe, and everybody's on their own path, on their own journey. And so you get to celebrate. I'm celebrating with you at 62 and a half of getting this. Yay.
Yeah, thank you. I like to celebrate. No, I'm
uh,
with you. The younger generation, the millennials and younger, I am so impressed with, because you're right. Um they get it. They have more information than we had too. You know, we we learn from information out there, so many more sources now than there was when we were. I mean, all we had was books, and you had to get those at the
oh,
library and use the Dewey Decimal System. I
right.
mean,
Right.
and then two television stations basically in my
Right.
hometown. That's all we
Right.
had.
Right. You
And
had to
then
get
that wasn't very authentic either. So
it right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely the change of access of information. There's so much more knowledge out there. There's so much more is being talked about, just spirituality and personal growth. And, I was listening to somebody, I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about yoga back in the 70s. Like, oh my God, she's a weirdo. They're doing yoga, but now everybody does yoga. I don't do yoga. I'm probably one of the few people on planet Earth that doesn't do yoga. I prefer Pilates. But anyways, like that was something that was really woo woo and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, I had an interesting conversation with my spirit guides. I had a channeling with them one time, and I asked about my granddaughters because I didn't have my grandson yet. And what they shared with me is because, of course, as a grandmother, babies coming to this world, I'm concerned about their safety. I'm concerned about them fitting in because this can be a really harsh world. You and I grew up in some harsh times. And what my guides assured me, and I'm seeing already to be true, that my granddaughters came in with a different agenda, I guess you could say. They did not come in with the same baggage, the same crap to clear out than a lot of us other ones. I know that sounds really, really woo-woo, but I'm just being authentic here. So I thought that was really cool. So what that tells me is like more and more people that are being born, they're not going to have to go through the drama that we had to go through to reach our authentic self.
yes,
So yeah, so these young people that are all these bright lights. Yes.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love what you just said. That's so exciting to know that, that the new souls that are coming into this earth. Thank God we need more angelic personalities, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of yuckiness out there right
Yeah.
now, to come in
Yes.
here and sort of clean it up and make it a more loving world
Yes.
for all of
Yes.
us. Hmm.
I agree.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
had that conversation yesterday with a client I'm working with who's, a millennial. And I told her how impressed I was with millennials, and how I get very defensive and protective of millennials when people start, bad mouthing them. People in
Oh
my
yeah.
generation start bad
Right.
mouthing millennials. I'm like, wait a second,
Right.
that's my kids. And I
Right.
think they're awesome. I think
I
they're very enlightened. They don't have the same materialistic kind of ways as the baby boomers did.
mm-hmm,
They're different.
mm-hmm.
And I'm really encouraged for our future because of them and the younger generations
Yeah.
behind them.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me
It's
too.
so funny. We never
Yeah.
know what we're going to talk about today. And I didn't know we were going to talk about millennials. Did you?
No, no, we were just like, hey, let's just hit the record button.
Yeah.
So I will share with you. I so love and appreciate you shared your detoxing experience. And you did yours with such grace and ease of just surrendering and asking, saying a prayer. Like I said at the beginning, I've been going through a detox as well, and my experience wasn't as graceful and ease as yours.
Well, I don't
I,
know if I would call throwing up and
uh,
all that very graceful,
well,
but
but with that I'm talking about, you just turned your heart over and said, "Help me." You know, I was that angry person. I had a very rage-filled conversation with the universe because some really big stuff came up for me this week. And there's also some residue, I'll call it residue, from some situations in my life. We don't need to know any details, but that were just not being resolved. I couldn't let go of. But the one that I was enraged about, I really had a verbal tongue lashing to the universe,
mm,
and I was not ladylike at all, because I felt like what was being thrown in my path was just like, what the hell?
yeah.
Where did this come from? I told you I'm going to trust you, and then you go and throw this at me, and it's like, I don't get it.
Mm.
And fortunately, I used my tools that I have, was able to purge that. I was not afraid to express my anger. That is something that I've learned to do in the last few years, is to express
Good.
that anger. Because I grew up, you weren't supposed to be angry. You're only supposed to
Mhm.
be happy.
Yeah.
This, putting on that smile. So I've learned to be angry. But there's a time to express that rage, and I just let it out. And thankfully, I did get that out of my system. And what I hear both of us did is we came to that state of letting go
Yeah.
and trusting a higher power. We don't understand the why,
Right.
but and again, it's that, wanting me, I'll say for myself in this situation, I wanted to have control, damn it, and I had no control. So stepping into my power and trusting, and just like you said, you had that peace. Since
Mm.
I had this physically let go of things, well, I wasn't like vomiting and things like that, other than verbally. It's a good thing nobody could hear me.
Yes.
uh and so it has been peace, it's been calm, and it's just been like, okay, yeah, you know if the worst case scenario happens, I will be okay. Just
Yeah.
like you, the worst case scenario, you're gonna be okay. Don't know how,
Mm.
but it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
And I know trust for me has been a real lesson, because I have put my trust in people that did not deserve my trust, and in the situation that preceded my little tantrum, I had told the universe, I'm going to trust you. And then it's like everything went to hell in a handbasket. And that's why I was so angry, you
Mm.
know? Um, but coming back around, you know, it's like, okay, I gave my ego the voice to express that anger. And then I got to let my higher self say, okay, that's not who I want to be.
Mhm.
I've, I've, that's my old way of being,
Yeah.
just like you. This is how I'm going to be moving forward.
And
Anything
it's
else?
okay.
No.
It's okay to release like that.
Well, and it
Like,
is, because,
yeah,
holding on to that anger, holding on, trying to control, is absolute insanity.
it is.
It makes you sick.
It literally does.
It does.
It literally makes you sick. I literally got sick. You
Yeah,
actually got sick after that.
I did. I'm still battling a cold.
Mhm.
And so I apologize. I have to take sips of water, and I'm hoping to get through this before another coughing fit. But yeah, I wore down my immune system because I was in a really bad mental state,
Mhm.
emotional state.
Yeah, one of the
And
things I learned this week too through this has been a very good learning week. I'm
yeah.
really grateful. I'm really grateful for
Same
all the
here.
learning.
Yeah, same
Uh,
here.
is that anger? I'm afraid of anger. I'm afraid of other people being angry with me, very afraid of it. And I'm very afraid of my own anger. I'm very afraid of anger. And so I don't really allow myself to express anger. I just go hide. And then that is a stuffing down of anger.
Yeah.
And what I've found is not only does it hurt me physically, because it does,
Oh, yeah.
my stomach, my, headache, all those things happen to my body. And that's not good for our organs, our cells.
Right.
One of the things that I've learned is working with a coach is that when we stuff down anger, which hiding is stuffing, and don't express it like
Mhm.
you were able to do, Wendy. So good job. The universe forgives you for cussing it
Thank
out.
you.
Um,
Uh,
that's a message for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But when we stuff down anger, like I hide, like I run away and hide from anger, that turns into resentment,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is harder to let go of.
Oh, yeah, that builds a grudge.
That resentment is a buildup of anger over time in my situation. And I feel like we might be onto something with that. That's what resentment, that's where it comes from
Yeah.
in me. And resentment takes a long time for me to release. And I
Yeah.
know that because I've been working on this one situation for years
Mhm.
and it is slowly being released.
Mhm.
But, and it's almost gone now, but it's taken years.
Mhm.
So I don't want to do that. I don't want
Mhm.
things to take years to
Right.
release they're not serving me. I want to release them immediately.
Right.
So I just got this visual of you in Hawaii stomping across the street. That's I think you're really good at releasing anger.
Mhm. Yeah, I wish I was in Hawaii right now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it looks like you
Uh,
are. So
oh, yeah. Just had to go to my happy place today.
beautiful.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So resentment is much worse than
Yes.
expressing anger. It's better to express some anger and to be able to use our words and set our boundaries with other people to express ourselves so that they understand the why behind the anger. I think it's only fair to the other people because I'm talking about people. I was having situations with people in my life, and you're probably having, I don't know, yours is with people maybe, but it might be with a situation. But to be able to express ourselves verbally the best we can, to explain ourselves is really a gift. And some people don't have words, aren't good with words.
That's true because they did not have the opportunity to learn how to express themselves when they were growing up. And that
Yeah.
was one of my really big problems. I have spent the bulk of my life not really knowing how I feel.
Mm,
I just know that whenever something goes kind of sideways in my body, it's like, oh, there's something going on. I need to figure out what's going on here. One of the things that I started doing that has been really helpful is doing some automatic writing and just asking my ego. You know, a lot of people teach about using automatic writing to ask your higher self, your spirit guides, whatever for guidance. I ask my ego, what am I feeling? Because I'm
good.
not really sure right now what I'm feeling. I know there's something going on here, and then I'll get like a couple of words and then I, use other techniques to really open myself up and just purge.
Yeah.
But we're just not taught healthy ways to feel and to express. And I've heard time and time again by mental professionals that anger is a normal, healthy emotion. It's when we stuff it or we take it to extreme that it becomes a problem.
Mhm.
But anger is a human emotion. And so many of us have been taught that it's not okay. And it is okay. It's okay to feel it. I do believe that we need to have some emotional intelligence when dealing with another human.
Mm,
If you want to just express your rage and your resentment in the privacy of your car, you're driving down the street, you want to vent, or you're in the shower, or you're in your bedroom, or wherever where you're by yourself, get that stuff out. That's one thing. But I do believe that when you're having anger in a conversation, it needs to come from, if this makes any sense, even a higher level of anger, because you don't want you can't take back words.
True. They're hurtful.
Yeah.
They are, and they linger. If you do take them back right away and say, I didn't mean that, the other person still remembers the words.
Oh, yeah. And those can be like an arrow through the heart or a
Yes.
knife in the back.
And over again, because they
Hmm.
keep coming back, don't they?
Yeah.
I know words
Absolutely.
I've
Yeah.
said before that
Yep.
I regret, that I,
Yeah.
said at night and then the next morning said, I didn't mean that. That's not the truth. I don't feel like that. It's already come back to haunt me again, and
Right.
an arrow in his heart became an arrow in my heart. It's like it just pick it up and
Yeah.
throw it back and forth kind of a thing. And it's not good to do that if possible, to avoid that. So what are some ways? How do we get emotionally intelligent? What are some ways to create healthy conversations when anger is an emotion that we're dealing with? What are some ways to hold healthy conversations between people when there is anger so that that
Mm.
emotional intelligence is being utilized?
Ah, what an amazing question. First thoughts, deep, if you're feeling really angry, give yourself the grace to remove yourself from the situation and get your emotions under control.
Mm.
And then have a conversation that is where you've brought down the barometer,
Yeah.
the heat barometer. With emotional intelligence, you're always wanting to think about, how is my conversation going to affect the other person?
Yes.
So is what I'm saying, is it worth it to come across as an angry person and say this with anger? Or can I say this, can I express myself from more love or personal empowerment? You
Mhm.
know, uh, just, yeah, you got to be so careful. Um, that's where I would start.
Yeah.
And
I love that you said take a break, like step out,
yeah,
step back, get yourself together before you start the conversation.
mhm.
And then how about this? How about a quick mental rehearsal?
Absolutely fantastic idea. Yeah, yeah. Uh, And
Mentally rehearse the conversation.
do that for sure. And also ask yourself, what is the objective? What kind
Mm,
of an outcome do you want from this conversation?
mm.
You know,
Yeah,
because you,
what path are we going down? Yes.
yeah, you don't want to have the path of harming somebody. Are you just wanting to communicate better? Are you just wanting to be heard?
Mm,
So many times our anger is because we just want to be heard and understood.
yes. Especially
So,
as women, that's one of the main
right.
things. We just want to be seen and heard. I mean, we want people to recognize our authentic, true self
Hmm.
and then hear the important things that we have to say that come
Hmm.
from our heart.
Hmm.
Yes, for sure. So step back, mentally rehearse. I'm learning finally to ask for help
Mm.
from my spirit guides.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
Go ahead, but I want to say something more about that.
I want to hear what you have to say, so go.
That I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is beautiful. If nothing else, after you've stepped back, got yourself calm, ask your higher self, God, source, whatever, to speak through you. That way it comes as love as opposed for coming from your ego. And you will be surprised at the different conversation you have when you have a greater source speaking through you. I've done that before.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's surprising. You're like, wow, thank you, whoever
Yeah.
just
It's
said
like,
that coming out of my mouth.
yeah, it was like, well, that was really gentle. And
Beautiful.
you get more, like, how is the phrase? You get more flies with honey, or how is that? Whatever it is,
Yes.
It's something sweet, right?
Yes, it
Instead of
is.
ice water, you put out honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
My
yeah.
ex-husband taught me that. He's from Oklahoma. He uses all those kind of cute little sayings, little oaky. Yeah, get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so however it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely. Always ask if you feel that you need it. Always feel free to ask. Let me put it that way. Always feel free to ask a higher source to help you with this conversation after you've calmed down, and you will have a much more emotionally intelligent, loving, productive conversation.
And isn't that just
And
so calming to know that like it's not just you? Like
yeah,
you've got your delegate of
yeah,
angels really
yeah,
that you can't see that's really there with you to help you to give you the words, but they're not going to give them to you unless you ask.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And that's something I'm learning. I'm
Mhm.
finally learning that. And that morning, waking up with that migraine after I asked for that help and what happened that day was just yet another piece of proof that that is the way I'm supposed to do things.
Yeah.
And you talked about free writing earlier, which I love. Free writing. The first time I'd heard of free writing was when, um, well, I'd heard of it before, but this time I heard of it after my son passed away. His girlfriend, Alma, Josh's girlfriend, Alma, wanted, it was like the day after he died. And she went home that night and she said, I just picked up the pen and put it to the paper and said, Josh, just write me a note.
Mm.
Just
Wow.
talk to me. And she just started allowing yourself to write. And you're
Yeah.
not thinking when you're free writing, you're just letting your hand write
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And that's really what true free writing is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that he gave her a message, and I don't know why, I don't remember, but I don't know exactly what that message was, but she knows.
Hmm.
And it was for her, but it was comforting to her.
Yeah. How
And
beautiful.
wasn't it though? But so free writing can come from your higher self, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, your ego that you talked about, and from spirit,
Yeah.
whose ever spirit you want it to be. But I think that what we were just talking about was asking for help from a
Hmm.
higher power,
Hmm.
have a conversation. It's like free writing, but it's free speaking.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start I'm gonna start taking these steps, Wendy. Thank you.
You're welcome. They've been really life changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So stepping back, gathering your why, your reasons, your calm, really putting all your resources back in your brain because they get jumbled up when we're angry. Let's just be
Yes,
real.
they do.
Things just start bouncing off the walls of
Yes,
your
they do.
brain. That's
They
mine
do.
anyway. It's like,
Mhm.
and that's usually why I run away because I don't know what to say. I don't have the words. I'm like, I I'm afraid of anger
Mhm.
because the words aren't there for me. Well, that's because I'm trying to speak from my ego and it should be from a higher source.
Yeah, and from a different perspective that might have started early on when you were too young to really articulate how you really felt. And so that just got ingrained in you. That
Mm,
just became your survival mechanism back from, when you were 2 years old or whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Such interesting stuff. Wow.
mhm.
So what now? Now that we know this, what now? I mean, is everything just going to go wonderfully from now on? Are we never going to get angry anymore?
Oh, no, we're still humans. We're souls having a human experience, but you know what? Who knows? We'll just have to wake up every day and find out.
It's
What
an exciting adventure that we're
it
on.
is. I will say, with the more awareness, at least we can get ourselves back. If we find ourselves pulled out of that peace and that trust, we can put ourselves back into that a lot faster.
Sounds good. I'm ready for that. So this has
Me
been really
too.
good, Wendy. Thank you so much for
Oh.
your gifts and your insight and for that ocean behind you. Thank you for sharing that with us today.
Oh, well, thank you, Dawn, for your gifts and your insights and sharing your experiences, and love your t-shirt, and yeah, keep making more.
Well, I made one today. It's out there drying. Yeah, so maybe next week I'll wear that. Okay.
Excellent. Okay. All right. This has
Awesome.
been great.
Well, do you have any like closing thoughts? Because we've kind of put a lot together today. Is there anything that you want to say to kind of wrap it all up for our viewers and our listeners?
Oh, let's see here. We covered a lot of territory.
Yeah.
How about start with just if you're going through a purging, like you know what you and I, Dawn, have been going through, know that it's okay.
Yeah.
Know that whatever you're feeling is going to pass, and allow it. Because if you stifle it, it's going to come back up again, and it's going to keep doing that, repeating that cycle until you get it out. That's just how it works. So just acknowledge, hey, I'm possibly going through this crazy purge right now, and it's okay. So
Yeah.
yes, and use your the resources that we share, use your personal resources, whatever works for you to get you through and get to that next level,
Right.
and know that you're okay.
Awesome. That's just beautiful. Yeah, that next level. So just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying there, yeah, not allowing anger to become resentment.
Mm.
So, releasing it.
Mhm.
And maybe that just looks like dancing around and screaming, shaking your hands and like literally shaking it off, like literally shaking it off. I mean, as human beings, we're actually naturally supposed to be able to do that, to like
Yes.
literally shake like
Yes.
dogs do or
Yes.
animals in the wild. All the mammals do that. We're supposed to do that.
Yes, we
So
are.
it's okay to literally shake it off. And dancing feels good. You
It
might end
does.
up. So that's great. Yeah. And just remember that you are growing as you go through this. We don't know what's next. When challenges come up, it can be very frightening because we're afraid of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen in the future if we're going through, relationship issues or money issues or whatever that is. It's all scary. Maybe losses. It's all frightening because the world is going to be different in the future. But guess what? The world's always going to be different in the
Right.
future.
Right.
So look at it as an adventure. We're on an adventure.
Yes, we are.
And we get to decide whether we're going to survive it or not. We get to decide.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining Wendy and I.
Yes, thank you.
And
Thank you. We appreciate everybody. And I just want to say really quick, Dawn, before we totally sign off, people have reached out to us privately and just expressed their gratitude and their appreciation for our podcast and YouTube. And I just want to acknowledge those people, say thank you. We really appreciate everybody that shows up and watches and listens. And, we come from the heart from this, and I guess it's showing. So thank you.
yes, thank you all. And please, if you're brave enough to make a comment below the YouTube video, please do that and share the podcast, share the YouTube videos with people. We really appreciate that. We're trying to get messages out there, and you just never know who's going to need to hear a few words that is going to maybe change the trajectory of their life.
That's right.
Maybe they just want to know that they're not the only one going through certain things too. So we're
Yeah.
here to help. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
Dawn Janice.
Yes.
This is Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett, and we are Lightweavings podcast. We both have publications on Amazon. Look us up. And thank you so much for joining us, where we talk about what may be dimming your light, and would you like to do something about it? Are you ready? And we are going to go through some uncomfortable topics, but that's where the magic happens. Thanks again for joining us.
Yes. Thank you. And if anybody wants to know more about Dawn or myself, there are links down below for podcast and YouTube. And so thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Wendy.
Bye, Dawn.